Good morning, Dewey.
Good. I decided I was going to let you start today. We're switching things
Thanks
up
for
a little
telling
bit.
me.
Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
I'm good. How are
How are
you?
those California Santa Ana winds?
I'm hoping they're gone. I haven't been outside yet this morning, but I'm looking out and it's gorgeous and clear, which scares me a little bit because it was gorgeous and clear yesterday and whew, very warm.
Just so people, in case people don't know, what happens when there's Santa Ana winds where you are?
So I'm at the coast, and so typically the wind comes off the water inland, and so it's like a cool ocean breeze and a little bit of moisture in the air, and it's paradise. But every now and then the winds shift and they come from inland, from Santa Ana, which is where the John Wayne Airport is located, and blow outward, and those winds bring with them lots of dryness and dust and heat. And if you have allergies, it's terrible for that. And it makes for a gorgeous sunset. I will say the sunset last night was spectacular because there's all this stuff in the air blowing in, blowing from inland to the sea. So give and take, give and take. I love the sunset. And I'm very lucky. I have air conditioning that I can turn on when the Santa Anas kick up. So, you know, life ain't bad.
Yeah, I know. Poor you. Poor you.
Yeah, poor me. Poor me.
So here it's
Yeah.
only been, I don't know, 101 yesterday, something like that. So
Yeah.
mid Texas that. But we still have wind also. Not a lot in Texas to knock down the wind. A little bit less here in the hill country than some other places where it is just basic hot heat blast. When the breeze blows, you actually wish that it would turn off. It's because it's not a cool
Right.
breeze. It's like the furnace kicked in and starts blowing on you. So um,
Yeah.
we're at a place where
So,
we're going to make some changes, right? You and I, we
yeah.
have the opportunity to have some conversations that a lot of people don't have because
Right.
we are, you know, we come at this from different sides, but we're also people who are seeking understanding. So you and I have some off-camera conversations, and ones that aren't even just before the show, during other days that are pretty deep. Um, that's
We
I,
try.
I I was gonna say something, but I think I'll just leave it right there for the minute.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I was going to say that there's so much going on in the world right now, obviously, and especially here in the U.S. We've got we're still dealing with COVID-19. We're still watching numbers and social distancing and wearing masks and doing the things we're supposed to do. At the same time, we have a country that has taken up a cause, the George Floyd murder, and I'm calling it a murder, regardless of how somebody else might feel about what happened to that man, has caused a lot of people to become outraged, to speak out, to march, to protest, and to try and facilitate some real societal change, which you and I have lived long enough to understand that that's not something that happens in a week or two. It's a long, slow process. And I suspect that both of us have stories of times in our lives where we've seen similar incidents that have sparked similar outrage and similar uprisings, and then they've kind of fizzled and gone away and people go back to the status quo. So you and I have been talking a lot about what's going to happen this time, and is this the thing that's going to really see some change in the world. Our young people are up in arms, which I always love seeing my kids get fired up over injustice. That's how they were raised, was to be outraged when they see injustice in the world. And so as a parent, I feel really good watching my children get involved and speak out and call people out for things that are not fair, not right, not just. But, they think this is their fight. And you and I both know, Dewey, that uh, it's typically the young people that start the fight, but they're not in positions of power necessarily to make the change come about. They can start the conversations, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But on top of all that, bringing it back to tennis, USTA just made a big announcement this week, cutting
Yep.
some people's jobs, cutting out entire departments and committees and meetings. And so
And I'll
we
go
have
to
a lot
good
to
for
talk
I'll go to
about.
good for tennis, and I'm gonna kind of share my thoughts on a bunch of stuff here real quick, but then come back to this. That my thought on what is going on in the country at the moment is deep and conflicted, and my experience has been different than what probably a lot of people's experiences have been. And as I was taking a walk, trying to keep myself healthy, get myself back healthy after my heart attack, but 2 days ago, I was thinking about, well, I got to put out my own thoughts, and it literally was hurting my heart. So I'm literally walking around saying, this is actually hurting my heart as I try to deal with the conflicted feelings within myself of how to approach this. And I also know that, as you said, protesting is for the young. We were too young to be part of the protests which existed in the 1960s. So we witnessed
Right.
them, and the uproaring upheaval based on social unrest, about racial inequality, about protesting America's place in world conflict, so the Vietnam War specifically. And we sat that one out, and we watched the people that were probably a decade, so almost a generation ahead of us, be out protesting, and probably our parents' age protesting.
Yep.
And now we're at a place where we're older than our parents were at that point in time. And what do we do? How do we step into this? It's probably not being the 75-year-old man who was out protesting and had confrontation with police. There are probably some other ways, because we are in positions where we are more established. We have platforms, we have outreach, we have the ability to make a difference in different places. And specifically, you and I, relative to tennis, we have an opportunity. The USTA just discarded a whole bunch of stuff. They took the thing which they had been throwing lots of money at, player development, and they
Yeah.
just tucked it neatly within community development, and they've moved back to what some people are calling their roots. And it's leaving, I suspect, an opportunity, because I think everything's an opportunity, right? It's just kind of how I go
Yeah.
about viewing the world. Of whatever happens, there's an opportunity here somewhere, let's go get it. And you and I have had some discussions about, well, where is that void, and what can we do which not only fills the void within tennis, but makes an impact based on the other things which are going on in the world, which we've been conflicted about. Do we even do this show? Because how important is tennis relative to all of those other things? So what you think? What should we do?
Well, one of the things that we talked about and you brought up last week in our show was this notion of programs that are bringing kids from every walk of life, every race, every religion, every cultural opportunity in our country equally together on a tennis court. And I don't know if we have access to the photo that we put up last week, that showed a program that you had started, and it is. Thank you, producer Kim. But where there are, every color of the rainbow is represented in the children in that photo. It's not a white program, it's not a black program, it's not an Indian program, it's not a Latino program. It's a junior program where you can go through and count the faces of different colors and find them equal. And so, how cool now that USTA has decided to move player development into community development. What an opportunity for other people to shine a light, or for us to shine a light on what other people are doing in this regard, and for people who are genuinely concerned about learning about people that don't look like them, getting to know people who don't look like them, who have come up in a different type of family than what they came up in. What an opportunity for tennis to step up and bring those people together. And we know children don't come out of the womb racist. That's not something they're born with. It's a taught behavior, it's a taught ethos. It comes from the adults in the world, and,
Yeah,
and
definitely
older
learned rather
siblings
than
maybe.
innate behavior. Yes.
Exactly. So why not start with the children and see what kind of impact that will have? That tennis can be a tool to bring kids of different backgrounds together and help them learn about one another, and hopefully help them be the voices moving forward and the policymakers moving forward.
So I
Uh
always
oh.
have.
Taking his
Uh,
glasses off. I'm in trouble now.
I always have trouble with things which are manufactured rather than being organic, right? So things, diversity and inclusion initiatives which have outreach into communities, purposefully trying to bring them in, I don't think work very well. There are too many undertones which exist within them. I believe the best opportunities exist when people of their own heart are free and open to having experience with everyone, and therefore don't treat people differently. I know that we've talked about finding ways to shine spotlight to bring guests into our show each week who are already doing things which are inclusive. And I don't think we're talking about the main big urban area CTAs, the Atlanta Tennis Associations, the Dallas Tennis
Right.
Associations, those types of places who have programs for quote unquote at risk kids, and we can dig into what that actually means, because I think they're talking about low income minority kids, because the reality is, by my definition, every kid is at risk, because who's spending all the money on drugs? It's kids whose parents are too busy earning more money so that they can have another vacation house and do all of those things, and therefore their kids have disposable income and free in a car, and they can go travel into the inner city areas to procure drugs during the hours of 4 to 7 in the evening. Because who thinks that a bunch of poor kids are the ones supporting the drug industry? Like, we're crazy, if that's what you believe. But I believe the tennis programs that we would like to look at are the ones that are doing a really good job of inclusion right off right off the bat. And I don't know where they are. Do you?
No, I mean, and that's so we had a long conversation off camera yesterday, I think, about how do we find these programs, and do we know of anybody that is doing this? And I'm sure that you and I both know people that if we went to their tennis court, we would see a photograph or a group that looked much like the picture that we just saw on our show, but we just don't know that they're doing that work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, our call to those of you watching is, if you are doing that work, will you please reach out to us, because we want to shine a light on that work, not only to say thank you, but also to give you an opportunity to talk about how you got started, how you're continuing your program, where did the funding come from if you got outside funding, how do you promote your program, how do you get the message out that your program is there for any child that wants to come, regardless of where they live, where they came from, what their economic status is. And we want to give you a platform to share that information with anybody else who chooses to watch and wants to learn from you. I mean, it's you and I can talk all day long, and we do talk all
We
day
do.
long. Um, but I'm not out there doing the work. I'm not a coach. I just provide a platform for people who want to share what they're doing. You are a coach. You are out there doing the work, and you're also providing platforms for people. So let's use our platform and let's do something positive with it. Let's you know take take advantage. That sounds really crass, but let's take advantage of what's going on right now and people's willingness to look at what is happening in the world and specifically in American society, and let's shine a light on the people doing things that maybe tennis can be a model for a school. Maybe tennis can be a model for a workplace. Maybe tennis can be a model for a judicial system or, a governing body of some sort or a boardroom. Um, why
I would say
not?
tennis has to take a look at itself because tennis is not the most inclusive place in the world. Tennis has been full of initiatives which have given limited opportunities or given large opportunities to a limited number of people and then pointed at those as we are doing the good work. We've given many, many wild cards to players of minority groups and as a way to be inclusive. I know that I was undoubtedly chairman of the Community Development Committee for USTA New England way back in 1992 based on some level of affirmative action that here is someone who can talk the talk, walk the walk, and isn't going to make too many waves. And I unfortunately believe those have also been ways of keeping from needing to give opportunities to the masses. And
Mhm.
you say that I'm a coach and I do the work. I'm a guy with a 58-year-old guy who had a heart attack in a place where it's 100 degrees. I'm not on the court much anymore. I don't no longer run my own program. I am still a coach. I still think I know what I'm doing, but I'm more a journalist than I am a coach at this point in time. I am more about helping to tell stories of other people who are doing really, really good things and then share whatever experience and knowledge I have to help them do better. If this can be a platform to do that more, where we find some people, I can help them with connecting with some resources that they need to be able to do more, that would be great. If we get some people who reach out and are like, man, Lisa, I want to do more than that. Dewey, I want to do more of what you're talking about, but I just don't know how. I only deal with the people who call me on the phone, right? That's who signs up
Right.
for your program, the people who call. And nobody like that is calling me. I would do it if I could, but I don't know how to reach those people. Cool. Well, then maybe we find ways to connect them and help them with their outreach without it being an affirmative action type thing. I'm just not an affirmative action kind of guy. Um, uh,
Well, and you and I are both connectors. I mean, we both enjoy putting people from different places together to do the good work, right? To get the funding, to get the facilities, to get participants. I mean, whatever it is, you and I both enjoy doing that very much. And we both have quite large networks of people with resources who are looking for places to utilize their resources. So I think that's part of the puzzle too. Is like you said, if you're a coach and you want to do this type of work, but you just don't know how, let's talk about it. Come be our guest on this platform and let's have a conversation about it. If you are a coach already doing this type of inclusive work, please also come and talk about it. We want to hear how you got started, why you got started, how you're continuing to keep your program afloat, and how you were able to, get your feelers out into the different communities and bring people together on a tennis court. That's those are the stories we want to hear. And now that USTA has announced that player development is really not going to be their purview so much anymore, this opens the door for coaches to really shine out there. And it's not that USTA was keeping coaches from shining, but I think there has traditionally been a fear among junior development coaches, elite junior development coaches, that, if I get this kid that gets really good, USTA is going to swoop in and take them and move them down to one of the USTA training centers, and I'm going to lose my involvement. Now, in recent years, USTA has made an effort to bring the coach along with the player, but I think now we're going to start to see some big change, and the opportunities there is, as you said, Dewey, let's seize it and run with it.
Yeah, I don't ever operate from a place of fear, nor have I ever operated from a place of fear. I've operated from a place where there were many times in my career where I felt like the USTA was detrimental, particularly back in the days of VHS tapes when you would send kid down, back when things were in Key Biscayne, and they would come back with a VHS tape of all of the things that the coaches wanted them to change, and beat up emotionally because they felt like the coaches down there were always telling them the things that were not good. So nobody ever did
Mm-hmm.
great coach education for those coaches of teaching them how to present what I will call a crap sandwich, which is take some good and then give them the bad and then give them some more good as the other slice of bread, so that they didn't just feel like they were eating crap. That wasn't a skill which was given to those. And unfortunately, some of those have moved on and have very successful academies and still beat players up. Um, get off my soapbox.
Nah, I like when you get on your soapbox.
No, it's this is the place that I get to do it. Other places I get to I ask people questions. This is supposed to be where my take on things actually comes
Yeah,
forward, and I believe that people mean to do well, people would do more. They get caught up in here's what happens to me on a day in and day out basis. And so there's not a lot of what I would refer to as working on their programs. They work at their programs. They're generally people
mm,
who are good players, who became coaches, and maybe they became good coaches. And so they didn't want to work for somebody else, so they created their own, but they are still just technicians within their own program. So yes, they work for themselves, but they're not business people. Let's face it.
mm,
And what we need is people to expand beyond just working at their programs and help them to work on their programs so that they can be more. In a lot of cases, that is just helping them see a bigger picture, helping them dream a bigger dream. Because I believe oftentimes bigger is actually easier to accomplish than smaller. When you're small and you lose a key player, that's a huge thing to you. When you're the
sure.
Bollettieri Tennis Academy and you lose a key player, you still have 20 other key players, and it's a lot easier to
Right.
operate. So, uh,
Yeah. So we're here, coaches, we are here, parents, we are here for you. If you know of or are involved in or would like to create a program that is inclusive, not start a program in the inner city or in an at-risk community, but actually be inclusive, that every child is welcome, regardless of race, religion, background, economic status. That's what we're looking for. And that's what we want to help grow more of in the US and around the world, but specifically here in the States. So please reach out to us. You can comment on this stream, whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook
Wherever you
or
find
wherever
it, I
you're
put it
watching.
out all over the
Yeah,
place today. Wherever
yeah.
you see it,
It,
we'll find it.
it's everywhere. So you can comment. You can email me, Lisa at parentingaces.com, or you can email Dewey, and you have so many email
Dewey Evans
addresses.
at
Which one?
gmail.com is probably the easiest one to remember.
Perfect. Perfect. So yeah, we're here. We want to hear from you. We would like to talk to you live on the air starting next week. We're hoping
Yep.
to bring guests in. So
And we don't have anybody
reach out.
lined up right now. So, yes, please reach out. That it's not like we're saying this and we already know who the first guest is. We don't know, but we'll find somebody between now and then.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Right.
There's our charge, our action statement for the week.
And every week, this is a new initiative, but I think it's us finding what the purpose of this show and this platform is going to be
Mm-hmm.
for us, is helping connect other people and being the change and helping showcase the change that we'd like to see in the world. So,
Couldn't said it any better, Dewey.
okay.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Dewey, as always, it's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next week. Take care.